The Commanders were busy again yesterday with a bunch of signings. Let's take you through them quickly here. The biggest one, the most impactful, has to be Marcus Mariota re-signing a 1-year, $8 million deal. EB and I were talking about this during the break. It's great to be a backup quarterback in the league. Now, it's great to be a starting quarterback where you're making 40, 45, 50, maybe 60 million. That's great. Mm-hmm. But also great is Marcus Mariota's situation where he's just going to float around for however many more years, however long he wants to play, up until he's about 40-ish years old.
Well, he's still fairly young.
He's pretty young.
I mean, he could probably do this 10 years.
So, yeah, he's just going to keep getting 1- and 2-year deals. This one for $8 million to back up Jaden Daniels.
But I wouldn't minimize what he did last year.
No, he was very good when he was called upon.
When he came in, he threw 4 touchdown passes without an interception.
Yep.
I mean, his quarterback rating was 131. I know it was only 44 passes, but he fits in seamlessly to the offense. He knows it. I think this is a valuable signing. We saw Jaden Daniels get injured, not miss time, but you worry given his frame. And I don't think it's going to change. So last year, fortunately, he played the whole season. But there might be a situation where you might need to lean on somebody like a Marcus Mariota for 3 or 4 games. And I think you have good confidence in him that he knows the system and can deliver. I mean, again, very small sample size. He got into 3 games. Completed 77% of his passes in those 3 games. And you know he can do a little something with his legs.
No, he was very effective. I like the re-signing. I'm surprised there wasn't a bigger market for him, or maybe he just wants to be here.
I guess the league got tired of giving him chances as a starter, but you know, if I was one of these teams, if I was one of these teams like the Colts who gave money to Daniel Jones, I don't know, is Daniel Jones better than Marcus Mariota? Maybe, but you would have thought he would have been in the mix. But it seemed like the league had decided already. You know what? You're in the backup bag,
right? That's kind of where he fits at this point in his career.
I think it's a great fit all the way around, and I'm happy because I know Jaden's happy. So I want my quarterback to be happy, Cakes.
Yep, sure. Why wouldn't you?
That's my quarterback.
Of course, that's your guy.
That's my quarterback you're talking about.
All right, some of the other signings for the Commanders. Eddie Goldman, big defensive tackle, comes over from the Atlanta Falcons on a 1-year deal.
These are all depth guys, right?
He's kind of had a bit of an odyssey in the NFL. He's 31 years old. He entered as a second-round pick back in 2015, known primarily as a run stopper, which we know that this team needs.
Doesn't he retire all the time?
Oh, he had 5 years in the starting lineup. Then he opted out of the 2020 season because of COVID, but then came back and played 14 games in 2021. Then he decided to retire and miss the next 2 years, only to come back last year with the Falcons.
That's pretty impressive that you can out of one season, which is sort of understandable. The unknowns, people didn't know what was going on. Retire for 2 years.
Yep.
And then come back and play like he did last year. I think he played in all 17 games, didn't he?
If you're in good enough shape, yeah, he played 17 games.
It's pretty incredible.
Including 10 starts with the Falcons. So,
I mean, he's out of football for 2 years.
Right.
And comes back and plays 17 games.
With Goldman and Kinlaw added to the defensive line, it appears they're really focusing on getting run stoppers.
Oh, yeah. They want to beef up that interior.
They're getting
bigger, stop the run. Both these guys, Kinlaw and Goldman, over 320 pounds.
Right.
Get some big dudes.
Big, massive human beings.
I think they know exactly what they're trying to do.
Yep. So he gets a 1-year deal as well. That it seems like Adam Peters, he's either going to give you, if you're really valuable to him, he's going to give you that 3-year deal like Kinlaw got. Almost everybody else.
If you're younger.
Younger, sure. But almost everybody else gets a 1-year deal, especially if you're north of 30.
Well, that's the thing. I think the guys that are over 30, they all got 1-year deals except for Tunsil. And that's just because Tunsil was already under contract. And he's in a position where those guys can play for a long time.
So Jonathan Jones also gets signed. He's a corner, former Patriot, comes over also on a 1-year deal. So he's going to be a part of the secondary.
He's another guy, super experienced. And especially, I know Kime mentioned it on his pod that I listened to, that, you're getting 2 guys that I believe were there when they made Super Bowl runs. I don't want to swear to that, but I thought that's what I heard John say.
He's 31. I just don't know how to distinguish Jonathan Jones from the guys they had this year, like Noah I or Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully he's better than Davis, because Davis was, that guy just got beat like a drum.
No, he was terrible. Kine pointed out that they played for Belichick, and DQ has a good relationship with Belichick, and for sure there was probably some base touching to just confirm they're getting what they think they're getting with these guys.
So as Jones comes in, the BSJ era, St. Just, he departs, goes and signs a deal with the Chargers.
I actually am happy for him. I know he's like, for amongst the fan base, the diehards, he's like target number one. I thought he wasn't great, but I thought he was always kind of in there, just couldn't make a play on the ball. It's kind of, I don't know. I just thought he was a little bit too maligned. He wasn't great, but I'm glad he finds a spot. Did they give him any money at all?
I didn't see the terms of his deal, but
probably just got like minimum deal. Or
I'd have to
similar.
look that up. So St. Just out of the picture. You'll never see him donning the burgundy gold ever again.
Yeah. It's fine. Again, I thought a lot of times he was there, just couldn't make a play on the ball. Like his ball skills were fairly mediocre. And when you look at the track record of the fact that I think he's got like one or two more interceptions in like his whole life than Mike Marr.
Right.
It's like kind of amazing.
One interception with the Commanders.
Mike Marr gets a lot of comps on this show.
I think he had like none in college or one or something. Like he just never, could make a play on the ball.
All right, the last signing from yesterday, they like poaching New England Patriots. Say hello to Dietrich Wise, your newest defensive end. Yeah. He also signs a 1-year deal worth up to $5 million to help provide some pass rush to the Commanders. He's got 34 career sacks. He's 6'5", 280. He spent his entire career in New England. And fun fact, I believe his younger brother had a stint with the Commanders a few years ago.
Daniel? They're related? Daniel Wise.
I think it was Daniel Wise.
Yeah.
So it runs in the family tradition. Playing for the Commanders, Dietrich Wise should help at defensive end.
Right now, if you were to look at a depth chart, I'm looking at a depth chart on ESPN, they have him penciled in as a starter.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Dante Fowler's still out there. We've talked about him. They didn't sign Farrell. We'll see what they do to add depth, but they don't have many guys at that position at the defensive end.
Yeah. It's also interesting that Noah Brown is still out there. I just wonder if he's healthy enough to play. I
hope he is, because then I win a bet with JP. I'm betting on Noah Brown
being brought back
just to be signed by the Commanders.
Yeah.
I just need that. But I'm thinking, if I'm Adam Peters, am I in a real rush to sign Noah Brown?
Right.
Like, is there a big market for him?
Probably not.
So I can just take my time with him.
If there are any early risers that are up what's out on the road, I want to hear from you. Or you're just waking up and you're one of these, the two people that actually listen to the radio. Call in. I want to hear your take. I know a lot of people were complaining yesterday that they're just signing like old bums, essentially. It's kind of the drift that people were thinking. People don't seem to be overly thrilled, but I think that's where you are in like day 3 of free agency. As we talked about, the marquee names are gone. Now you're filling in the gaps in your roster. I don't have a problem with it. I think I understand what they're doing. So again, I'm cool.
Right. In day 3 of free agency, you're not going to be hitting home runs. This is when you're hitting the slappy singles to try to just round out your roster.
Doesn't it feel like the $94 million or whatever they had for the cap? Doesn't it feel like it went pretty quick?
Yes.
Let me check. I'll check the over the cap.
Well, you still have to save money for your draft picks, right?
Yeah, for sure. And they could, but again,
but it's not like they're going to have a super high number, first round pick that's going to command a lot of money. Yeah. The Commanders,
they know what
according to overthecap.com, still have $32.5 million of cap space.
I don't know. How much do you think they need for their draft picks? That's a great question. 5 to 10 million or something? I don't think you need that much.
I don't think it's
for that particular year.
It's under 10.
Yeah, it has to be under 10. So they've got plenty of money left if they want to swing another deal.
I think some people, correct me if I'm wrong, it's impossible for me to keep track. I'm sorry. I'm not Adam Schefter. Hendrickson is still available.
He's still out there.
Yeah, so I think maybe some fans were clamoring and hoping maybe that they would pull the trigger on that.
And at wide receiver, you've got kind of everybody that's got flaws, right? Amari Cooper still available. He kind of was a dud in Buffalo this year. Stephon Diggs available.
He's
coming off an injury. Keenan Allen seems like he's 100.
Mm-hmm. But if they wanted Hendrickson, could they afford him? I mean,
I don't
know,
think they could.
I know that you would have to like finagle a bunch of people's salary, signing bonus.
I feel like they might be able to.
Here's
with what
why
they have.
I think they could.
I think they could if they have
Neil
32 million.
Greenberg made a very good point yesterday on B. Mitch and Finley that the overall strength of the 2025 draft of the picks is not very high. So it makes sense that Peters is dealing away draft picks if they're relatively not very strong. So if he still has capital and he says, you know what, this draft isn't very good, why wouldn't I package a second round pick and some future picks for Trey Hendrickson?
No, I'm talking about the cap.
Like, I don't think they could afford him based on like Max Crosby's contract and Myles Garrett's contract.
You think he'll get more than 20 million?
Yeah, 30 million is like the going rate. It sounds like.
Okay, if it's 30 million, then maybe they can't.
And then you got to do some pencil whipping.
Well, couldn't they pencil whip it and make a little less that first year and then backload it?
There's always a way to finagle it. Now you're going to pay for it down the road. Ask teams like the Saints and other teams that kick that salary cap can down the road. At some point, you have to pay. But I think it could be doable if he's just scrimping and saving for that one last big deal.
Right.
Could potentially happen.
Because he's got a lot of money for just draft picks. And minimum wage
he's got
guys.
$10 million for them for the draft.
Yeah, so if he's got 30 million, let's just say Drabby's right. It makes sense to me. Just use your brain. If it's less than 10 million, what do you? I mean,
and there aren't that many draft
what
picks.
What are you use the other 20 million on?
There aren't that many draft picks to pay because he's dealt a lot of them away. I mean, at least 3 of the picks are in round 7 or 6. Yeah. Correct.
Again, he's going to add a few more.
Guys nothing,
but they're not going to be big money guys.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
It doesn't seem like there's enough available for another luxury item.
I agree with you.
There might not be. I still think they could do it, but maybe you're right. I'm not all knowing on that. I have no idea.
I don't consider 17 sacks a luxury. I feel like, especially with their dearth of pass rushers currently on the roster, it's almost a necessity.
Right.
Now you're gonna have to pay a lot for it. You're gonna have to pay $30 million a season. Right. But do you want a guy who's capable of giving you 15 plus sacks? Because right now, they don't have that guy on their roster.
Right.
And I'm guessing they're not going to be able to pick him at 29.
Right.
Pretty sure that's not going to happen.
Well, Josh Sweat, who had half the production of Trey Hendrickson, signed a $76.4 million deal, 4-year contract. So he was tickling the $20 million a year.
That's like 18, 19 million.
But it's half the production. But like I said, you got Max Crosby signing a monstrous deal. I would assume Trey Hendrickson would want a similar deal to Max Crosby.
I'm pretty sure if they wanted to, they could make it work, but they may not want to.
Max Crosby got
expensive.
$91 million guaranteed, 3 years, $106.5 million.
I mean, the last time we spent a bunch of money on the D line, everyone complained about it. You don't want to have all your money tied up in your defensive line. So
yeah, I think they're fine.
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday, I think the biggest move was Marcus Mariota, and that's a backup. That's your if crisis happens and you need a backup quarterback to get in, you're going with a top tier backup quarterback.
I don't know. I kind of think the is it Jones, the DB? I kind of think that one is kind of a big one. He's got a lot of experience. He's a little older guy, right? I think he's played over 100 some games, started maybe 70. Is that right? I saw that. I don't know. They say he's kind of in the same mold. He's only 31. And believe it or not, corners can play a little longer. He's kind of in the same mold as Sanistril.
They're about the same size.
He's kind of versatile. You can play him inside or outside. Yeah. So that's, I don't know. I kind of like that. They can kind of plug and play, figure out who fits where best.
He's played in a lot of games. He's played in 132 games for the Patriots over 9 seasons, 71 starts.
And he's only 31.
Yeah, so he's very short, right?
Presumably 30. He's the same size as Sanistril.
5'9". Hey, JP, let's go easy on he's very short. Okay,
for an NFL player,
he's in our height range. Yeah. Okay, he's short-ish. He's short adjacent.
Just don't get blown by. Just kind of fight and be there with your guy.
Right. Just battle.
Don't be like Lattimore and have to just climb on top of the guy to stay with him.
You love bashing Lattimore.
Well, he's just not good.
He wasn't good for the stretch that he he came over for the Commanders.
Guys just run right past him.
Hopefully, it's injury related.
He literally have to jump on it like a moving train to stay
Like he's
with
riding
him.
a mechanical bull.
Yeah,
that type of deal.
He couldn't keep up.
He
was tough. But
Jonathan Jones may end up being better, but I'm telling you, when they signed him, I just like, okay, it's kind of like Michael Davis, who they brought in, who was a veteran, about the same age.
Listen,
maybe he's a little upgrade, and then I'm thinking,
it's fine.
Noah I, who was okay.
No, I think Noah I was better than the others, but none of these guys are Pro Bowlers. They're depth guys for sure, but sometimes you need good depth guys.
Look, their splash moves were Tunsil and Debo.
Those were the big ones. And Kinlaw. They signed Kinlaw to some pretty big money.
This is what I'm talking about. No one's calling it about the free agents. Now, maybe it's because they just don't know them because they're unknown guys.
Yeah.
They're not big name guys. But
March 13th, it's the off season.
I know I saw on
they're letting Adam Peters cook.
I know I saw on social media a lot of people upset that they got older. They're like, actually, if you do the math on the
veteran team,
they got older. So we'll see.
All right, if you want to weigh in, you're welcome to do that on the MGM National Harbor listener lines at 800-636-1067. Give us your input on the latest Commanders free agent signings. And don't forget, coming up at 7 o'clock, Spencer Carberry, head coach of the Caps, will join us here on The Fan.